Shonk. There we go. The recording is in progress. So yeah, what were we doing? Yeah, we were doing Slaughterhouse 5. Have you ever seen the movie of that?
Actually, I haven't.
It's not very good.
I kind of didn't sound like it was.
But it's just, kind of fascinating to see a book like that, done that way, right?
It's it seems like something that would be hard to do even now.
Yeah, yeah, we kind of discussed that a bit.
Yeah, but probably better than Dune. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking what I thought of that last Dune movie. Now that it's
I
a
mean,
year
the
and some
first
change.
one, I didn't see the second one yet.
Oh, the first.
Still,
I find the first one to be pretty fascinating too.
I mean, the first one has some really good stuff in it, but it's also just like textbook. Like someone just hacked this to pieces in the editing room.
Yeah, I think the newer one, it's like everything's done well, but nothing's particularly inspired.
Yeah.
That would be I don't think that's a popular take on that movie, by the way, but people do seem to like it. But for me, it because if nothing else, the David Lynch one has plenty of inspiration.
I mean, did you on your Slaughterhouse 5? Did you talk at all about how that dude's last movie, Arrival, just stole the ending of Slaughterhouse 5 but made it like more boring?
Oh no, that didn't even occur to us.
That's all I could think of when I saw it at the end. It was like, what if Slaughterhouse 5 didn't have any like sex in it, and then it was like
It
about,
wasn't funny.
and it was sort of about like maybe you shouldn't get an abortion.
Mm, yeah. Okay.
Not a huge fan of that one. I mean, overall, there were some moments in it, but
I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I liked it better the second time. I guess it helped for me to like know where it was going a bit.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It was sort of like Interstellar to me, where it was like a technical, like great technical achievement, but it was kind of like the plot was just up its own ass too much for my
I
taste.
don't know. I'll punch for Interstellar. Arrival, I'm like, okay, I can see. Yeah, Interstellar, I'm a pretty big fan of, but what severs?
I it's like if the ending was just different, if they just like killed him, then I would have probably felt completely different about it.
Nah, it's cool. It's the
I
ending. I
do
like the
not.
fact that it went a little mystically. I like that sometimes.
Yeah, I guess I'm too much of an atheist, and to me, it just looked like convenience.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name? Bowman never comes back in 2001, does he? Well, he comes back as a
Nope.
weird floating star
I
baby,
mean,
but that's
yeah,
different.
then he comes back as something terrifying, basically. And if you read about what the plots of the sequels to that are, it becomes even more terrifying. It just becomes like crazier and crazier.
Doesn't one of them become about like diamond trafficking or something?
It was about like just planet going to other planets more and more. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
you go
couldn't
to a
really
planet.
tell.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, it was seemed like maybe a little bit too much trying to like um kind of capitalize on the success of the film by like
Mm.
putting more like transhumanist shit into it, but I don't know.
Mm.
I'm
Okay.
not
Well,
going to
this
actually read those. Sorry.
read what?
2000 and
Oh God, no!
3001 or whatever.
No,
Yeah,
I
I'm not
did.
going to read those.
No, we did talk about in that one how Arthur C. Clarke. It's like, well, it's fun to describe what happens, but reading all the words around that in a novel gets tedious.
Ugh.
Like, you can describe an Arthur C. Clarke movie like a good joke is what the guest was saying, right? I mean, it's not a joke. It's just like that's the presentation of that story. But then to actually sit down and read the novel is like too much.
I never read any of his actual books, so
Yeah,
but
be like Stanley Kubrick, just take out all the words.
I generally like. I think I just like Stanley Kubrick's take on stuff, even though I think it's like I would say maybe I liked A Clockwork Orange the book better, but I never finished it because I just couldn't.
We're not supposed to finish it. It's got that last chapter,
I don't
right?
know. I couldn't finish. I couldn't even get halfway through it. The like slang was too dense. I was just like
Oh,
this.
okay.
It
I
was
think I've
just
I think I've read it twice actually, so I guess it didn't bother me
huh,
as much.
huh. Uh,
Like way
yeah,
back in the
it's
day.
not.
I think I read it before I saw the movie actually. Huh.
It's kind of like I'm kind of afraid to read the book Cosmopolis after seeing the Cronenberg version, because it was really fun to watch people talk like that. But I don't know if I could read just a whole book with that
Mm,
weird ass dialogue in it.
right. Okay, I guess we do this one then.
All right,
So
let's do it.
doing it.
Doing it
No, no,
well.
you're supposed to not say something so you can spot the edit. Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast, where we talk about episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here. Hi,
Hi,
Mark.
I'm Beyond.
Do you want a penny?
Yeah,
Is that enough for your thoughts?
probably.
Yeah. Like like give them for free or give like some real money, right? Isn't like a penny kind of like insulting? It's
Well, I
like
think
10
in
bucks.
1960 that was like 25 cents, right?
Well, you could buy like
Like a
maybe one.
quarter.
Even then though, you could buy like one piece of bubble gum.
Cool.
I guess he bought
I'm
that
in.
newspaper for a penny. But was that a penny or a nickel? It wasn't actually a penny.
I don't think it was a penny. Actually, I
Yeah.
think it was like a quarter.
Yeah. So a penny even in 1961 is not, it's kind of insulting if that's what I'm paying you, is what I'm saying. Like it's
But if
like
they called it a quarter for your thoughts, then what?
it's like, like 9.99 for your thoughts. That's a little more reasonable.
This
And you
is
get
a
pennies. You still get pennies in that transaction as well.
this is a really fun episode to talk about to me because I think it's probably my favorite one of these I've been on here to talk about as far as the nuts and bolts of the episode, but the setup is complete nonsense. Like, there is
Well,
no, it might as well just be someone just like if a witch showed up and just shot him with lasers that
that
gave
would have been
him
cool.
that would make more sense than this.
Okay, yeah, that makes it. We'll get into that a little more because I'll have a few thoughts on that as well. But let's
A
get
penny for him.
trivial. Let's get trivial.
Can I PayPal you a
Trivial.
penny?
Oh, that would be insulting,
Probably
wouldn't
not.
it? And it's a
Probably
penny of
won't.
crypto. Penny of crypto.
Yeah, what Dogecoin for your thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, one Dogecoin. How much is that worth? Nothing. I don't
More
know.
than a penny, I think.
I just know. I think I bought. I think I transferred $20 of my PayPal into crypto, and I think it's now $10. So whatever.
Cool.
Well, that's not so cool, is it? I lost $10, but
No,
whatever.
you're supposed to be happy because the free market is working.
Oh,
You're supposed
okay.
to be happy about it.
Okay.
Like I've
I'm
been reading
happy
people on the
about it.
internet where they announced the new PlayStation VR is $550 and a lot of people are like, "I'm glad they're selling this for that price point. It's good that they're charging this much for it."
Okay. I don't understand people, but I
People are
haven't.
idiots.
The last game system I bought was like a Wii, so what do I know?
You should be
uh,
glad that they sold the Wii for as much as they did.
all right. Helping the economy there.
It actually
Uh,
was pretty overpriced for what it was when it came out.
hey, people are still using it in my house, so I guess it was worth it.
Yeah, I have one. It's right over there. You can't see it, but
I don't believe you then. For this
okay.
episode, the original air date was February 3rd, 1961. This whimsical script is from that whimsical Twilight Zone contributor, George Clayton Jones. James Sheldon directed. It's one of a few stints he did in the zone. He also directed episodes for shows such as MASH, The Man from Uncle, and Sledgehammer. Dick York returns, having played a part in season one's The Purple Testament. Of course, he's best known as the first Darren on Bewitched, as well as his role as teacher Bertram Cates in 1960's Inherit the Wind. Helen was played by June Dayton. She appeared in many TV guest roles, including a recurring 5 times on Perry Mason. Dan Tobin played Mr. Bagby, and he appeared on film and television, generally typecast as the insufferable prick, as he is here. Interestingly, his last role was alongside John Huston in Orson Welles' The Other Side of the Wind. Though it shot in 1970, it sat on the back burner and was not released until 2018. So that's pretty wild. Get a movie released 40 years after you're gone. Mr. Smithers was played by Cyril Delavanti. He was a prominent actor on the London stage, but eventually emigrated to the US, where he appeared in many bit parts in films, often uncredited. Like many actors of this time, he shifted into television, and he will appear in 3 more episodes of The Twilight Zone. So at least they liked him here. And I mean, not to be too blasé, but I was like, he's in 3 more. He looks on death's door in this one. So yeah, I guess I forgot what the date was for his birth. I mean, he obviously was not the spring chicken at the time, but I don't know. How'd you feel? I just
People
here's a
looked older back then. I didn't look at him, but wha- like as you know, we're also sort of going over the prisoner on a separate thing, and I keep looking up trivia for that, and almost everyone who's in the prisoner died like the year after it was made. It was uncanny, and a
yeah.
lot of them don't look particularly old. So I don't know, I don't know what anything is
No,
anymore.
this guy kept kicking for a while apparently. So yeah, it just I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been watching the videotaped episode, so seeing the stark black and white of an old man's wrinkles, on film again. So like that sounds horrible when you say it that way. Okay.
People were older back then. That's just a fact. People looked older than they do now.
Yeah, okay. Um, it was just weird because it's my little phrase there sounded slightly wrong, but there wasn't anything particularly wrong about it, I guess. Here is
Mm.
a prologue. It's short. You don't have much to do today.
Okay, so I'm going to make it really annoying then. Mr. Hector B. Poole, resident of the Twilight Zone. Flip a coin and keep flipping it. What are the odds? Half the time it will come up heads, half the time tails.
You're still failing.
But in one freakish chance in a million, it'll land on its edge. Mr. Hector B. Poole, a bright human coin on his way to the bank.
Yep, thank God that one's short. You did crack in the middle there though, so you don't get take two.
Well,
Take
I'm not
one.
good at,
Take
I'm
one,
not good
finish.
at it.
um First off, yeah, I at the beginning, like you said, there's the ridiculous contrivance that this whole telepathy episode is started by the random landing of a coin on its edge. Dude's like, that's a 1 in a million chance. I'm like, is it? I mean, it doesn't seem
Mm.
like completely out of, there could be a little defect in the wood that kind of catches the coin, right? Um,
You could also test this a million times and it wouldn't give you power to read minds. Just saying.
okay. There's also that. I'm just thinking like it's not 1 million and 1 chance in the first place. Um,
Probably not. No.
I got this foam dice we toss around in class, and every once in a while it lands on a corner, like probably at least once a month. So I guess it's more likely that's going to happen because it's a rug and it's a foam dice, but still,
Yeah, to me, it's just extremely weird that that gives him powers because
I
that
mean,
doesn't make any sense at all.
it,
It makes zero sense.
it gives me powers. I know what my students are going to answer with before they say it, but that's actually more experience, isn't it?
So, wow, Hector Poole just really takes a while to figure out what's actually happening. I
Well,
like the fact that he gets hit by a car.
well,
And then it's still like, wait, what?
if you
What?
suddenly had a whole bunch of voices in your head, like, and you didn't know why, that doesn't seem unreasonable. I mean, it's played in this is an episode that's interesting because it almost it hits more TV tropes of the time, I think, than the Twilight Zone generally does.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the weird nonsensical plot manipulation with the coin. They just like what everyone's thinking is like weirdly scripted sounding, right? Which I don't think is what anyone's thoughts are like. He should get weird
Yeah.
stream of conscious gibberish.
Yeah, you wouldn't get, I know what I'll do. I'll take this money to the horse race. I'll bet exactly this much on this horse. That's what I'll do. I'll do it after work today. Like, yeah, nobody nobody would think that in their head. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe some people do.
I yeah,
TV writers.
if that's you, tell us. Yeah.
Yeah, please write into the podcast and tell us if you just think, I will now go to the refrigerator and get a slice of bread. I will put meat on the bread. I will then put cheese on the bread. Then I'll put it in a sandwich bag and take it with me to work. I'll eat it around 6:30. Yeah,
that
if
that's how you become a high paid Hollywood writer, TV writer. But
Mm.
and then some of the people are like talking to him directly in their thoughts, right? They're like, you did this
You
or something.
stupid idiot.
Because I
That
don't,
was kind of realistic, though.
but
I think.
you would just think stupid idiot. You wouldn't put the pronoun on it because you don't need it in your head. Or hey, maybe that's just me. I don't know how other people think. This show could be super accurate for all I know.
I think if I'm driving, I will think you idiot, but I'm not like standing in front of them and talking to them directly.
Right, talking because they are like talking to him with their minds, which is kind of a weird office, I guess, if everyone does that.
Yeah, did you so were you thinking there was going to be a plot twist where it turned out that everyone knew that did you think that watching this for the first did you seen this before? Did you know it was
um,
happening?
I'm not sure. I
Okay,
didn't.
well,
I felt like this pretty
were you
much played
thinking
how
there
I was
was
going to play.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was just wondering because a lot of times I kind of think it's going to end up being more elaborate than it actually is. I guess I did actually think the guy was going to rob the bank, but
I did think that at first. Yes, I joined pool and assuming that was he was getting accurate information. So
which
I mean,
this is why well this is why I think this is my favorite episode that we've gone over so far is that there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of different like it's a great like ensemble that kind of weaves in together where you have the guy who fantasizes about robbing the bank and the guy who actually thinks about the terrible things he does and the guy who thinks about his mistress and the lady who is has an insatiable need desperate need to be with Dick York and you know and Dick York's just weird tall awkwardness that works so well for this character. Yeah, there's
is
just
she a
a lot going
cougar?
on. I don't think so.
Okay.
You just like overestimating people's age over here. I think she's
Oh no, I looked
like
it up.
mid 20s probably. What?
Oh no, she's 5 years older than Dick York. I actually checked.
Oh, weird.
How much older does the lady have to be before we call it a cougar situation?
I think it's 10.
Okay. Okay. So
5 is like kind of normal actually.
yeah, okay. See, I don't know these things. Um, oh, one thing I was slightly disappointed by was the horses' names were not nearly whack enough for the Kentucky Derby because horse names because it was just like like little sprinter or something where real horse names are completely insane.
Or like she's taking my pants off or sideways through the mail slot.
Yes, those sort of things. That's what I wanted in my horse names.
Plastic cup full of urine. Plastic cup full of urine's around the bend. I don't know.
I don't know. I even feel the need to look up like the worst horse racing names. While you give
Please
us your
do.
next thought.
Please do. Yeah. The thing is, they have really great chemistry, even though like a lot of the chemistry is just him reading her mind, I guess. But it's
But
I don't know. There's a lot of the. Sorry, go ahead.
she definitely doesn't fit with like yeah she's kind of too much of a 50s woman for the Twilight Zone, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but also she sort of is like as soon as she has a chance, she's like, "You're gonna take, you're gonna take control. You're gonna take that corner office." So I
Okay.
guess it would be different if she was like, "You're gonna make him give me the corner office."
Okay, I got 10
But
bad horse racing names, but it's from a website called The Spoof. Does that mean they're real or not?
I don't like that. But go ahead.
Okay, I'll just read what I got because I can't spend too much time doing this. Quit horsing around. That's pretty obvious. Oh, here's a good one. What's that smell? Um, athlete's hoof, the galloping gelding, whatever. Jockey on board. Oh, here's a good one. Giddy up, bitch. Um, horse face, Alpo boy. Okay, number 9 is the best. Look at the SOBs in my rear view mirror. See, I don't even know if
Wow,
these are real or not because horse names are just so weird, you know?
those aren't like terrible. Okay, here top 10 worst names for a racehorse. Um, from horsevilles.com. Hoof-hearted. It's
I got
actually
that.
banned in the UK. What? Oh,
If you
heart.
say it
I
five
get I
if you
get it
say it
now.
5 times faster, realize it's a clever double entendre that made it past Jockey Club censors.
Okay, ha 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 is one.
Yeah, I got
Ghost
that.
Zapper.
Oh, here's a couple good. Yeah, I got Ghost Zapper. That's
Do
fantastic.
re,
That's
do
good
re
one.
mi fa sol la ti do.
Oh,
That's
here's a good
terrible.
one. Odor in the court. I think I
All
like the
right, I
smell,
kind of
but
like that
I think I
because
like
it's
the
like what
smell.
court?
Yeah, I
Like
think I
that.
like the smell based names the best.
She sells seashells. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh, sofa can fast.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Spineless jellyfish.
Huh?
Uh,
Red
wait,
hot
what?
Philly pepper.
Wait, there's
Oh
a
no,
horse where the guy named the horse after himself.
that's cool. It's like
Clyde
that.
Van Dusen. He just named the horse also Clyde Van Dusen.
That keeps that thing. Here we go.
That's really
This
good.
one's all in lower cases with no spaces. Oh no, it's my mother-in-law. No spaces, all lowercase.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway,
That's like
that
bad, bad, not good.
so that's my disappointment with this episode. That the horse names are way too sane.
Well, I don't feel like Twilight Zone is the type of thing where they're gonna throw in like a funny horse, but who
I mean,
knows really?
I'll be honest. I perfectly enjoyed watching this episode. For me, it's and I don't remember specifically which ones we've done, but like it certainly it didn't. I didn't find it to be like a giant standout. So I'm kind of curious. You said the moving parts. What was the
Yeah,
special sauce for you?
it was just the fact that this guy had to deal with the our main character had to deal with something like eight different people, and they all sort of wove in and out from each other. That was
I guess that would be a the writer George Clayton Jones's. I guess that's kind of his
Mhm.
strength. Like from he's only this is only like the third or fourth episode he's written so far, but I guess he has kind of a quirky sitcom thing. That's why my trivia is like whimsical script from that whimsical writer because he's like the
Yeah,
whimsical one, where I feel like Richard Matheson is kind of like the hard sci-fi super trippy one. Rod Serling is just Rod Serling. He is the Twilight Zone, right? So I but
yeah.
the for me, I guess out of the regular writers, George Clayton Jones, I guess at this moment is probably my least favorite.
I mean, I do like the stories about isolation, or where I mean, we had what just a few episodes ago. There was an episode where it was literally just a woman alone screaming, and there was no, there was almost no dialogue in it. Yeah,
Exactly right.
like that. I mean, I think that's technically a much better episode than this, but this is just, I don't know, fun. It felt like a Seinfeld episode or something.
This one's certainly more rewatchable.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, another thing, he's now reading minds, but yet they're talking about Smithers, about him committing crimes while talking like behind like just a single sheet of plastic. Like he can probably hear you a little bit. You're not thinking this, you're saying it. Maybe he'd like missed, maybe like after a few hours had already like kind of lost the distinction. I don't know.
Maybe he just is that old and he didn't hear.
And maybe it's the Poole lineage, Frank Poole lets Hal Lip read him in 2001. So
Hmm. Interesting.
those dang Pools.
But yeah, it's just a fun episode where it has a lot of fun characters just being wacky screwballs to each other. It's I mean sort of like a most unusual camera, but I think it works better than that did because that was sort of as insane as it is for a coin to just give a guy powers, it's not as insane as a bunch of people just falling out of a window.
Yeah, but before that, we have a like rando knife fight. I mean, that
Yeah,
kind of whack. See, I think I found that kind of whack like a little more appealing, though, as the podcast episode length belies, there wasn't like that much to talk about in that episode.
well, also those were kind of better actors than these.
Okay. Well, what's your take on Dick York?
He's great.
Are
It's
you
like his
are
physicality makes it
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Like
Are you a
such a
fish
weird
staring
guy.
guy?
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know how much I've really watched of that show, but I never really thought about it. I never really thought about a preference personally.
Um, because in season one we also have Dick York in the Purple Testament, which I thought
Mhm.
I thought that was a more fascinating use of him, that being a pretty serious episode. So his weird energy in that is interesting. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't quite fit, but it somehow works. I mean, it works here too, but it's Dick York doing Dick York stuff here, you know?
it reminded me of Jim Carrey, even though I guess I should say Jim Carrey reminded me of Dick York, but it was like this just painfully awkward, naive dude just fumbling his way through. Somebody who was more of a suave, like clever person would have like maneuvered their way through the situation immediately, but he really does kind of come across as like kind of kind of an endearing idiot. Like he doesn't even seem to know that his coworker likes him until the kind of the very end.
Oh, come on, we've all done plenty of that. Though my note does say if Miss Turner and Dick hook up, they will have the dullest intercourse ever. 5 minutes of shirts on grinding that results in both of them crying.
It's gonna be something like he won't know what he's doing and she'll keep asking him if he's comfortable. It'll be that.
Yeah, yeah, that sort of thing. So,
They won't have any idea how bad it is, so it'll be
uh,
okay.
okay, as long as they're happy.
They
But
won't they'll be happy. They'll be happy until about maybe 10 or 15 years down the line when
they get bored of
someone
each other.
snaps. I don't know. She'll
Uh,
discover pillows or something. I don't know. Should probably cut that out.
Why would I do that?
This is a family podcast for families.
Is it if you're getting your family circling around the old timey radio, listen to this. It's okay. Thanks, I guess.
Mm.
Now we talk about Poole being kind of like gangly, awkward, not knowing how to deal with people. But by the end of the episode, he's basically engaging in psychic blackmail to move up the corporate ladder. That's a
Yeah,
little hardcore.
but I mean, think about how much farther he could have taken it. It's like just the fact that he's basically just kind of mildly blackmailing a guy who's cheating on his wife and pretty much just gets himself a promotion that maybe he deserves, or at least the episode wants me to think that he deserves it, and then gives Smithers a ticket to Bermuda, which maybe he deserves that too. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't.
I mean, we only have Miss Turner's, opinion on the veracity of his job performance when she's already
Mm.
smitten. So,
It'd be funny if he just went back to him like a week later and he's just basically sitting in his new office, just spinning around in a chair, not doing anything.
I think I wanted a Miss Turner who was a little less of a puppy dog following him around, I guess. For me, that actually would have greatly improved the episode to have her be a little bit more of a character.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Maybe it's 60s TV or maybe it's Twilight Zone. It always seems to feel like, yeah, why don't you go just find yourself a nice gal and settle down right now?
But then
That's
we
what the
got like
Twilight Zone feels like it's telling me a lot of the time.
but then we got like, Mirror Image or the Hitchhiker that really manages to like get into the leading actress's head, right? Or even not
That's
too long ago, the what was it, the lateness of the hour? That was a very interesting. I mean, she was a spoiler alert robot, but she was a robot with a lot of character.
I thought you were going to say she was spoiled.
Oh, well, she might. Well, maybe, but well,
She
that's the
kind of
thing.
was. Then
We
she
we
was a robot.
we have these Twilight Zones where we have these women that do have a actual psychological profile and some agency. A World of Its Own is another one, and then kind of the disturbing twist is, that is taken away, and they become like they all become functionally robots, or they don't exist anymore, or whatever.
You're right.
So anyway, I just I
Yeah,
felt like
that would have made this was not heavy in
I
any.
mean, Miss Turner. I'm not saying that Miss Turner needs to be like mind wiped by the end. I'm just saying that she could have like a little more fire to her, a little.
She just basically had more agency than than Dick York did. I forgot his character's name already. What, Frank? She
Pool.
has a
No,
little
no.
more.
Frank is the 2001 guy. But just a
Oh,
pool. Pool's good enough.
I almost said Frank Booth. No, she had a little more agency than he did, which is not much.
Oh, I didn't even bother to put the character's name into my trivia. That's why I just wrote Dick York returns. But the name is Hector Pool.
Hector.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
So
looking at my notes and it says Hector. I don't know what's wrong with me.
yeah.
Yeah, she has a little more agency than he does, which is not much. I think nobody in this episode has very much agency, including the guy who hits him with a car and can't call him an idiot out loud.
Yeah, that was super passive aggressive. And man, would I be that judgmental after bonking a guy with my car? I don't know. Oh, by the way, I got hit by a car is a perfectly reasonable excuse to be late to work, I think.
Yeah, but this capitalism, baby, you got to keep the savings and loan going.
So stressful to balance your wife with your girlfriend. Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be like It's a Wonderful Life and then have everybody try to get their money out, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only thing that happens at banks.
It's got like the fun wackiness, not fun, the fun whackness, I should say, of the Twilight Zone, but the wackiness is a little. They have done better wackiness for me. Sorry, I'm not. You dug
Well,
this one.
like I
I
said,
get
I've
that.
only been on here for like 6 or 7. This isn't this doesn't hold up to like my favorite 5 or 6 or 7 episodes so far, but it's just my favorite one that I've been on here specifically to talk about, I think.
Yeah, I'm having a look and yeah, sorry, season 2, you didn't get the best ones. I mean,
Ah,
just we had to talk about Christmas, right? So,
doesn't matter as long as I get to watch them.
oh, here we go. I liked Mr. Beavis better than this one.
Okay, no, I didn't like Mr. Beavis better than this one. I did like Mr. Beavis, but not better than this one. This had a little more of a that's just it, is that Mr. Beavis sort of had he goes to location 1, he goes to location 2, he goes to location 3, you
Oh, and
know.
I'm looking back on the schedule. And okay, here's ones that we did that I would for sure put above this episode with Judgment Night. Of course, that's not a funny one. Third from the Sun. I think I preferred that. I know no one likes the Fever, but I just like the talking slot machine, so I'm going to put that above this one. And
Those are
and no one likes LG, and I seem to like that one more than everyone else. So I I,
hmm,
I would put all those above this myself. I'm just that's why I'm curious
interesting.
if I caught your fancy so much.
I putting them all on a list like that, they're all pretty close. I just think this one just kind of is fun.
No, no, no. That's as I said, I certainly enjoyed watching, but this is like if I am cherry picking episodes on a rewatch, I probably won't be watching this one unless I had just been like binging, Bewitched a week or two before or something, which I've never done in my
Mhm.
life, so it's unlikely.
I mean, yeah, this is the setup is patently ridiculous. And that's probably part of why it's fun, is because it's just the setup is completely insane. And
The first time I watched, I guess I was like, "What? That's it?" And then when it knocks out the end, I'm like, "What? That's that?"
yeah, but there could be a version of this where it's just the guy who he thinks he's going to rob the bank, and he thinks he's going to rob the bank the whole time, and then we get to the end and then you find out he didn't rob the bank. Like that could have been the entire episode,
Yeah, yeah,
but it
maybe,
wasn't.
yeah. No, no.
I think
So
I'm thinking of it in those terms, where or the psychic girlfriend angle could have been the entire thing.
yeah, because I
So
feel like
it's
I am sitting here kind of ragging on this episode more than I usually do, but it's not that I didn't
well,
like it. So, but I it
well, I
could
mean,
have.
I said it was my favorite one that we've gone over, so you reserve the right to state your case why it's not your favorite one. That's
Okay,
totally legit.
okay, that makes sense.
It doesn't
So
change that you're not like we're not trying to convince each other.
right, like as far as quality, we're back on film. I mean, it definitely like there's a certain that's it's now that I've gotten through most of videotape episodes, you just luxuriate in the film now more than before. In the first season, we already thought it
Yeah.
looked good, but now that I've done the videotape, I'm like, oh God, yes, everything looks great now.
Yeah, and I don't even remember which ones of those were on tape aside from the Santa one.
The other ones that we've watched so far, that were on video. I don't. I think we still might have another one or two in the future. But what do we got?
The Whole
The
Truth.
Night of the Meek, Lateness of the Hour, The Whole Truth. That's right.
Yeah,
22, which is next week's episode.
right.
That one being very good, but it might have benefited a bit from being on film.
Mm.
There maybe Static's the other one, yeah, but
Yeah, all of those. Well, the thing about Lateness of the Hour is that it was sort of it sort of was stuff that had been done, I guess. It felt like it felt kind of like I knew what was going on pretty early when I was watching that.
well, yeah, that one has a very stage play feel, partly because of the video, and I feel
Yeah,
like it might have had more of a gothic feel if they had done it on film, which I kind of think might have been better. I do like that episode quite well, so that
it
that
was.
is that's one where I really wish they had done it on film.
Yeah,
22 as well. 22 would have had a much more kind of creepy goth. It already has a very creepy gothic feel, but it would have had a little more of one, I think, if they had shot it on film. That's next
and
week though, so I shouldn't talk about too much.
and the whole truth is one of those where it was just really fun. I mean, the ending kind of made it because that was a totally unnecessary,
Oh yeah, that was
totally
insane.
unnecessary ending.
That's a
It was
forgettable
great. I
that's a
loved it.
forgettable episode. But as I said at the time,
Yeah,
I do appreciate that the dialogue is just like cracking in that one. Like
yeah.
if you just like read the dialogue or listen to I forget the actor's name, but him deliver it, it's like okay, this episode definitely has like like a pinch hit at least.
He's
So
he's a better written he's a better written villain than any of the villains in this episode for sure.
oh yeah. I guess we are just kind of watching entertainingly mingling cardboard cutouts in this episode. So me singling out
Yeah,
Miss Turner. Sorry, that's what it says on my note. She has a name.
Miss
Helen.
Turner.
Helen. They even say Helen
Ellen.
most of them. Just in my note, I wrote Miss Turner, so I keep calling her Miss Turner. But Helen, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can call her Miss Turner. It's the office, right? She's the prettiest girl in the office
Yeah.
pool, the accounting pool.
Yeah, I think the worst thing about Helen is just the what do you call it? Like the what do you call it when you just hand the protagonist like a trophy girlfriend? There's like
Um,
a term for that trope, but it's
well,
like
he
that thing where it's
described
it's
it.
like a thing that happens in anime a lot, where like the protagonist finds a girl in a chest and just there you go, he has his perfect girlfriend because she doesn't like the Fifth Element, you know. It's
Y-
like you have this perfect setup where you can read someone's mind and they like you, like that. Bam, you're in there. Like there's no actual difficulty. It's like the opposite of a sad. It's the opposite of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I mean, how out of whack is Hector? I guess that's why I preferred Mr. Beavis. They like really go out of their way by telling you all of his bizarre hobbies and stuff. Like you at least get a feeling why this guy can't just like go to a bar and meet people, where
Yeah,
Hector, I mean, he's a little bit of an introvert, of course, but it doesn't seem like he's like that dysfunctional.
I bet if Mr. Beavis and Hector were friends, then like they wouldn't like each other.
The first time I watched Mr. Reeves, so I also thought I was watching Dick York. I didn't realize till after it's like, and I checked. I was like, oh wait, that's the different actor. So they definitely do tie together in my mind.
I thought it was Crispin Glover's dad.
Oh, was
I
it
think we
okay?
went over this. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't. But I was like, it looked like Crispin Glover. It's like,
Oh, okay. But yeah, and that it wasn't him, but it's same energy, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I do, and we're about in the same part of the season, so I guess they're kind of twin episodes in a certain way.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
feel like
maybe.
this is the Mr. Beavis of season 2. Let's put it that way.
Mr. Beavis 2, Mr.
Yeah.
Butthead. I don't know, man. But yeah, that was one of the worst things to me about the episode was just that he sort of gets it magically can cyclically read the mind of somebody who likes him, which is just like way too convenient. But
Right. But I mean, again, because again, you were like, oh, yeah, it's the best one of your episodes. I guess that's why I'm sitting here like
mm.
critically, like dissertating it so hard. I probably wouldn't otherwise. I'd just be like, oh, yeah, it was fun.
Oh, so there's a problem if I like it then? Is that a thing?
No, I'm just like that made my tone be like, okay, I want to critically dive into this one more than I usually do.
I really like I tend to just really like to be as objective as possible in any of this stuff where it's like there've been a bunch of things where I posted them on Facebook and someone was like, "That's my favorite episode," and I had to comment like, "Well, it wasn't really our favorite episode."
Yeah, I'm sure this is somebody's favorite episode, especially folks that are just massive Dick York fans. I mean, I'm a hardcore Trekkie. I like both of the Shatner episodes quite well, and I recently heard on a different podcast people just like ripping Nick of Time a new one. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, my friend Nick, who commented that
of
his
time.
King Nine will not return was his favorite episode, and I was like, "Well, we weren't super nice to that one, but you should listen anyway."
I mean, there's a creepy atmosphere that would get someone, press someone's specific buttons, right? Where you and I were like, well, I don't know, I feel like they've done this better in other places.
Yeah, you can make the case either way, really. Like, I don't know. It's like I keep saying over and over again, there aren't really any bad episodes here. Like there is, I mean, except maybe like the Chaser, but even that is like
That has its proponents.
it's still that's still more interesting than like the dumb version. There's like a dumb version of that you could do that probably has been done a bunch because he's
um,
like a literally about to murder her at the end. So that's automatically pretty edgy.
yeah, we got a little bit edge there, so for sure. Let's do the questions. Who in this
Hmm?
episode goes through the Twilight Zone, enters the Twilight Zone?
I guess it would have to be Hector because everyone else just sort of is in Hector's world. I mean, everyone else has to sort of take his word for it. I don't know if anybody even really quite believes that he could read minds except
Helen gets
for
proof because she
Helen.
starts feeding
Yeah.
him lines that he then repeats, so she knows that
Yeah.
she's at least in on it, and that she's accepting it's happening. Right? She has proof.
But it's almost like she's like the one person who he could probably, it would have been really cool if she just sort of like stabbed him in the back at the end and took everything somehow. Or got him committed for mind reading, but nah, not this episode. Yeah,
Mister
it was him.
Mr. Bagby certainly gets his life affected by the Twilight Zone because apparently he was keeping his affair quite a well guarded secret. But his thoughts betrayed him.
Yeah, now his crappy loveless marriage will last even longer.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, he was definitely affected by the Twilight Zone because he got his comeuppance
Hmm.
in the vocabulary of the episode. But you know,
I feel like he would have messed up eventually anyway. Like, don't
uh,
they always?
yeah, probably. But just at this point, like the Twilight Zone definitely sped up the process.
Yep. Well, the
Um,
Twilight Zone taketh away.
I don't think Smithers has enough to really notice. He'll just be like, "Wow, why am I suddenly getting a trip to Bermuda? That's pretty hip."
What if he starts freaking out and then like loses his mind? Then does he go to the Twilight Zone?
Well, it
I
is.
feel
I
like
mean,
wouldn't you kind of if you just sort of talked about things and suddenly you magically got a plane ticket, wouldn't that like really mess with you? That would mess with me a lot,
yeah.
honestly.
What he dreams about robbing the bank and then going to like a different tropical location every day, and he's keeping it to himself. It's in his mind, so I guess that's cool. But I was just having my rewatch of Full Metal Jacket, where it's like um what he doesn't say Pyle. He uses the guy's real name, which I've now forgotten. But he's like, yeah, Pyle's now talking to his gun, which that made me think of Smithers a little bit.
What if he just goes to Bermuda and then just walks into the ocean?
Right, right. Oh God, can what is Pyle's Vincent's the actor's name?
Uh,
Clarence? Sorry, I just watched it last. I even got like an hour 10 into Full Metal Jack, which rarely happens.
I've seen it like 3 times and I have no idea what its name is off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've seen the complete movie like maybe twice. I've seen the first 45 minutes like 30 times.
Yeah, that had to have at least happened. Even on IMDb, he's listed as private pile. Like, what?
Okay, he does use it because that's like the rare spark of humanity in those first 45 minutes because he uses the guy's actual name and expresses a real thought, which is almost completely lacking in those first 45 minutes. So, um, I mean the assessment on that is I think generally like 45 minutes of a perfect movie followed by a pretty good war movie.
Okay, his name is Leonard Lawrence.
Leonard, there we go. Leonard's been talking to his gun. Sorry, I felt like
Mm.
it doesn't vibrate right unless you get the right name, right?
Mm.
um anyway, back into a penny for your thoughts, a very different thing than the first 45 minutes of Full Metal Jacket.
Did almost polar opposite. Did Hector deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone?
uh,
Yeah, sure.
well, he benefits from it.
That's a tough
Again,
one. Yeah, he
it's
gets out. This is one of those a lot like Mr. Beavis where there are no downsides at
he gets
all.
he gets rough sitcom situations. He gets fired for a bit. Um, and then Mr. Beavis did not get his job back, did he? Because it was a crappy job.
No, you didn't want it back.
Where Hector B. Poole wants to, become a middle-aged banker scumbag. That's his goal in life. So
And he's
maybe he
on his
doesn't
way.
deserve this. Yeah, he's on his way. I mean, he seems nice now, but 10 years down the line, and now he's in his loveless marriage with Helen. I mean, it started off nice, but they're bored of each other. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Maybe that this ultimately couldn't. Maybe Hector could have done better things if he had not had this situation. I don't know. I'm reading in way too
I
much for
am I
being
am
cynical.
I'm I'll bet anything that their first fight that he just stares at her and like tries to read her mind and then she's like, "Are you trying to read my mind?" and just like throws stuff at him. Like I bet that's just a thing the entire rest of their relationship.
Yeah, yeah. That situation you got to play it like Neil deGrasse Tyson, at least the Key and Peele version. Well, actually,
Yeah, tweet at her how she's wrong. I don't know.
I am. Yeah,
uh
I said I'm for some reason this is like the most cynical one of these I've done so far. You turned on my cynical
mm,
switch today. That's fine. Some
well,
people
it's
like that
fun.
sometimes.
It's fun to be cynical about whimsical fun things that don't hurt anybody
Yeah.
because that's ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as flipping a coin and giving yourself powers.
I'd say Mr. Bagby did deserve to be metaphorically slapped by the Twilight Zone, which I think we've already said anyway.
Hmm.
Um, Helen, does she again? She's such a just follows pull around. Yeah, I
She
don't.
gets she gets to have
She
sex
gets
with
her
him.
man. She gets her man. I mean, that's kind
She
of a
gets
bummer on the
something that
Twilight
she
Zone.
never would have gotten to have otherwise.
Oh,
Probably.
unattractive
That's what
blonde's not
it
never gonna find
No,
anyone.
not I mean, if that's the dude you want,
Okay,
might never have happened.
yeah. Smithers though, he doesn't even notice the Twilight Zone's happening for the most part, and he gets a trip to Bermuda. So yeah, good on him. He comes out best in this episode. He's just
Unless he goes to Bermuda and then just walks into the water.
why wouldn't you do that?
Never
Maybe
to return. No, he just walks all the way into the ocean.
hey, maybe that's the perfect end for him. A poetic ending. He's again, he's pretty old. I don't know why he's still working. To be honest, he looks very far past retirement age.
Ask me again in 30 years if I'm still working.
Yeah, it might be a necessity, but I mean, clearly it's a professional job. In 1961, he would have been getting like a decent salary at that job. It's not like he's like working at a convenience store.
Yeah, even people who are working now are still able to retire for like another, I don't know, 10 years or so.
When did convenience stores start? They were
I don't know, 1853.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah, because we just especially in Japan, they were on every corner. About a quarter of them have been closing recently, but because they were like too many, they had like totally oversaturated convenience stores. So
1927.
okay. So I guess by 1961, it would be pretty normal to work in a convenience store. But yes, this is a bank, so I'm getting way off
I
topic
mean,
again.
the bodega dates back to 1846.
Oh,
That's
okay.
pretty similar store. So I don't know. I was definitely thinking recently about how a lot of stuff in Atlanta is closing and being replaced by chain stores and Like how weird is the chain store itself? Like there aren't really, for most of history there have been shops, but chains have only been around for about,
When
I don't
shops,
know,
you would just go
130
you go to the
years.
front counter, tell them what you'd want, and they would go back and get the stores, right? You didn't like shop around.
Well, but it's just, I'm just saying that through most of the history of stores existing, there have not been chain stores. It's
Okay.
like I think it's an aberration, sort of like major record labels.
Mm,
Like there weren't major record labels before like 1967 or something like that,
yeah, yeah.
and there kind of aren't as many now, really.
Right.
It's
But well,
just
the
the
chain
fact
stores
that,
are kicking it.
yeah, some of them, but we'll
Um,
see.
how trippy is this episode for you? 0 to 5. Where do you want to
Mm,
go?
I'm gonna go 2. I'm gonna
I
go
usually,
2.
I always think of my score beforehand, before the guest says it.
I
I was,
usually,
I was thinking 2.5, and then it's like I
mm,
was just like middle of the road. But then I was like, yeah, but the sitcom can I think I'm just going to change it for once and go down to your 2 and agree with you with that. You've
okay,
also convinced me to delete half a point.
interesting. Yeah, it's not that trippy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
thoughts, no, if if even one person, if you read someone's their thoughts and they were just like, then it would go up to like 3, but
I mean, if
that
you
didn't happen.
really were to hear someone's thoughts, you'd be getting James Joyce's Ulysses.
Yep.
You'd be getting those parts of the Clockwork Orange book you couldn't get through, right?
That's actually the idea of that actually being a real thing, like actually being able to read people's actual thoughts, is actually extremely terrifying, because you would find out, at least someone, you would find out something you didn't want to know, and probably most people.
Yeah. And
It's
also,
very scary. It's
what
not
would
like
you
what women want.
what would you get like in this? Obviously, he's getting full sentences, sometimes being talked to, but wouldn't you need to get a mix of concepts of words, maybe a bit of imagery, emotions? Wouldn't you need all of those components and possibly more to actually read someone's thought? Like just hearing like words really wouldn't do it.
I don't know.
I mean, some
I
people
guess
don't
it
really
depends on
think in
how it
words at
works.
all. Yeah, some people don't really think in words at all. They're certainly not sentences. I think most people probably don't think in sentences, but here I am guessing how people think again. So I could be wrong.
Well, well, one of the scariest things of all is the recent news on the internet that some people don't have an internal monologue.
I've dropped a fair amount of my internal monologue.
What?
I don't internal monologue that much anymore.
You can just stop doing it?
Yeah, that's why people get into meditation, man.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
don't know. That is terrifying. That is terrifying to me. Like you go read somebody's mind, there's nothing there. That's pretty
but
scary.
well, the whole point is then you start, noticing everything else, right?
I already do that.
Okay. But then you're having an internal monologue about it. So the whole point is just
Yes.
to notice it and not
No, I have
not
internal monologue at the same time. It's like having 18 browser tabs open.
not as we, you know, not to analyze what you're seeing as we do every week on Time Enough podcast, which could be found. By the way, I assume you didn't. Okay, I just explained the segue, so
You know,
let's
you
not
did
go.
a really good job and then you completely shot it in the face.
I did. I shot it right in the face, and you. I don't know. I don't want to say that. And you could shoot us in the face, metaphorically, on Twitter at Time Enough Podcast, Time Enough Pod on Twitter and Facebook. There, that's a much worse segue.
You can shoot tweets in our face. That almost works.
Yeah. Okay. Um, or you could support us on Patreon at Podcastio Podcastius, where you get episodes early and you get to network around our other podcast where we talk about sci-fi films at Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. And for the gamer, there's Luke Loves Pokemon, Monster Mash about Monster Hunter, and the Game Show, which is for British guys screaming insults at each other. I just received confirmation to continue using that tag for the show.
Are you doing regular chats on the Discord.
That's
Should you
correct.
plug that?
Sure, I'll plug it because you just brought it up. That's a
Yeah.
different Discord, just to be really confusing. But if you would like to
Oh,
come and chat here and there, that is many of our guests are from Mission Log, and then many of my fans are on the Mission Log or listeners. Maybe you're a fan too, but on the Mission Log Discord, and I do a chat every other Monday morning about the two preceding episodes, and of course, tangents are as friendly as they are in the actual episodes we do. So,
which is
um,
Sunday night in the United States or Sunday afternoon
oh,
if
that's
you're
right. That's right. Sorry. Yeah, I'm
Sunday.
thinking about myself there. If you live in Japan, it's Monday morning. Okay.
Move to Japan so it can be Monday morning.
There we go. Okay. So, anyway, yes, we're trying to have more, like interactions with you, the listener, and they're starting to actually happen. So that's pretty cool.
Hey,
Um,
sometimes I'll be there too.
radio. Are you up to anything? It is November 28th today.
Thanksgiving.
Is that actual Thanksgiving? No, that's a Monday. So you just
Keep
had
eating
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Keep eating it.
You're eating the leftovers.
Keep
I'm
eating
not
the leftovers.
I'm not a turkey fan.
I like it if it's prepared well, and I hate it if it's not.
Okay, it dries out so. But I
Mhm.
haven't had a Thanksgiving meal in 12 plus years because America is the only place where that is really a holiday.
What a shocker. You don't give thanks for the time that everyone in Japan slaughtered a bunch of natives and took their land.
I kind of did that up in Hokkaido.
Dun, dun, dun.
But they didn't make a holiday for it, so there's that.
Why don't you go to China and then celebrate Japanese occupation November
But
20th?
hey, I will shout that out. Just if someone does want to go into a little bit of a knowledge dump that maybe they didn't know about, it's the Ainu people. I mean, there are still Ainu in Hokkaido. It's like it's like how First Nation folks, I guess, are in parts of the state still, but they have like their own distinctive. They got their own language. Like their art style is very interesting. So,
Hmm,
yeah, yeah, Ainu culture in Hokkaido. If you want to learn something about Japan that is not, I guess, world famous, that's a very interesting one to dive into.
cool. I typed in Hokkaido Ainu and it gave me a Shiba Inu. But,
Okay,
I'll figure
you
it
you
out.
can you can finesse that search a little bit.
You
Okay,
know, such dog.
flip a coin. Tell me what you get.
Powers.
Okay, there you go.
Well, I think that was appropriately ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, no, I didn't know I wasn't starting to be like, okay, I'm gonna rip on the episode or anything, but it's just like,
No, I was
oh,
just giving you a hard
now
time.
I feel like I
I
need
know
to
it
like,
is.
no, I wouldn't have gone so critical on it otherwise. I think so, but because I'm thinking,
That
have I gone that critical on any other episodes?
that's what makes it interesting though, is that there isn't a whole lot to talk about there, so it's better to talk about just why is it good or not good. I
Yeah,
think
in
in that
fact,
case.
holy shit, I think we
Did
just
we
recorded an hour-long episode about that. I seriously thought it was going to be like the camera one, where it turned out to be like a 30-minute episode.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
yeah,
I mean,
there are like no themes really.
yeah, and we were. I mean, I think we were talking. Full Metal Jacket aside, I think we were talking about the episode a good 60% 70% of the time. So, huh.
Good podcast. I hope everybody hates it and it's their least favorite episode
Okay,
of
yeah.
the
So
podcast. I
yeah,
don't, not really, but
so far the ones I found that people were the most meh on was when we did the Purple Testament. Oh, I actually got the one on iTunes. They really hated was it the After Hours? No, it was the Monsters Are Doing Maple Street. But I
huh, weird.
because we went on so many tangents, like we didn't talk about the episode, and I've just started making
Like,
my not catchphrase, but I tell people, okay, on these Time Enough podcasts, you will get 30 minutes like laser focused on the Twilight Zone. So if the episode is
Mm.
55 minutes long, that means there's 25 minutes of God knows what too. So
Well, I think some of your guests are like that one dude is not great. I can't remember his fucking
I
name,
think
but
that's
he's
the
not a
Purple
mission
Testament.
log, not a mission log guy, but he's
I,
like a guy, a conspiracy guy or something where
yeah,
he's like not
I think that's the Purple Testament. That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
Yeah.
So
Also, don't put this in the bonus material where I trash talk your other guests. um,
no, I like the guy. He's fun to talk to, but I see where people are
I mean,
coming
he
from on that
seems
one.
nice. He's just not great at like expressing himself through speech. That's all.
Okay, that's
There's
cool.
there's there's like there's good people and there's people who are good at like expressing themselves, and those two don't always interact and intersect.
Right. Well, the
People are
early, I
great
mean,
at expressing themselves who are pieces of shit. So
yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, especially when I started doing the episodes and realized I wasn't going to just be talking to like you, Luke, and Andrew exclusively. I was like, so I kind of had two tracks where I was like, will the Twilight Zone work better talking to Trekkies or talking to like weird mystics? So
I think honestly, all the mission log people you've had on have been fucking awesome,
that's why if
and
you notice season two, it's shifted mostly to that.
there's so many of them. I didn't realize there were so many of them, but
Right.
like,
So it has, and also now, like you said, they have a little home for me on the Discord. So it's kind of shifted to that. I am talking to
yeah,
the one kind of not quite conspiracy lady, but in that ballpark that I still regularly call, which is Lindsay, who did the what was she on? She was
Sci-Fi
on.
Sanctuary, I think.
No, she hasn't been on the Sci-Fi Sanctuary. A World
Uh,
of His Own. She was there for A World of His Own and one other one. Escape clause, and she's going to do
okay,
the invaders with me tomorrow morning. So that's the one
gotcha,
kind of mysticism conspiracy adjacent person I still regularly call for these.
gotcha. Okay, right. Yeah, a World of His Own that I kind of shit on in the season one recap a little bit.
Oh, you mean the episode itself,
I
right?
mean, I should, yeah, a little bit. No, I did. Yeah, I didn't shit on the person. Because I don't think that even came out before we recorded
Oh
that,
yeah, good point, good
or
point.
even close. I think we recorded that before even. I think it was before the After Hours episode even came up.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I was talking about that episode, having not heard your episode on it for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that sounds about right. That's just how I think. Yeah, I'm looking at the dates, and it was probably between Mr. Beavis and the After Hours. Whoop, was that you or me?
That was me.
Okay.
It was interesting because one of my favorite podcasts just did an episode on the Twilight Zone like a couple of weeks ago, and one of the hosts specifically singled out After Hours as a really underwhelming episode. I said it was like my favorite one of last season.
Right. Same here.
It's funny.
I was listening one about the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and they were like, well, we went back
Hmm.
and looked at some, and they were like, oh, Nick of Time seemed really like kind of slipshod, you know?
Mm,
I'm like, huh, I think that's a good episode. So,
interesting.
but yeah, these all play differently to different people. So, the construction of them is usually pretty top notch. So it's kind of interesting to see what hits for people and what doesn't, you know? And just people like some people really cannot just even though it's 1961 TV that but a lot of people still think stands up. Some people it's just what's in black and white and the production's not what I'm used to seeing on modern television. That's like a bridge too far, you know?
Yeah, everybody has their own like lines, but there are definitely a lot of people, even like a couple of close friends of mine who kind of hate everything, still like this stuff. It's like it's it's definitely not, it's not like it's still objectively good, even if it's not necessarily your someone's thing. But but
Yeah, we should I guess we should get
I
back
think
to the prisoner for too long. The next one I have you
yeah,
on for this is January 23rd, so we got some time, which is
cool.
the Rip Van Winkle caper. Which have you seen that one? Do you know what I watched that one last year? So
I don't think I've seen that one, but
okay,
mm,
I specifically put your name next to that one on purpose anyway. So because some of them I'm
cool,
just like, here's an episode I need to plug somebody in, but that one I was like, yeah, that should be a Mark one. So
cool.
yeah,
I'm into it. Looks like it's coming up pretty soon
yeah,
on
yeah,
the list of episodes.
yeah. The air date is January 23rd, so there's some time. And the next Monday we're gonna do a couple of recordings out in the rice fields, and I'm gonna try and get Mark to yell the intro for the prisoner. Mark Luke. I'm gonna
Hmm?
try and get Luke to yell the do his best Scottish accent because you and I cannot do that at all. Luke could probably fake one a little bit. I just want him to yell the intro of the podcast, like you're listening to an the prisoner podcast, right?
The prisoner imprisoned in prison of the prisoner
Prison.
prison cast.
Yeah, you're listening to imprisoned an the prisoner podcast. I say that's what an the prisoner on the. I just
I
love
thought it
that.
was on of the prisoner prison cast, but I guess it's just gonna be a prisoner podcast.
I don't know. I could have him shout prisoner cast, but yeah.
Yeah, just do what seems right.
Maybe I'll just tell him to do his Connery
Oh,
because that's
shut
close
up.
enough. That's close enough to
Shut up,
Magooner.
woman. Yeah, sure.
Because I've caught Luke practicing his Connery to himself before, so like walking down the street, just like, oh, shut up, shut up. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing my Connery. You're having
Sorry, I'm like
digital flatulence. I guess it's
touching
analog
this cord.
flatulence, isn't it?
It is. It's a stupid cord that's not. When a cord has a short in it, you're just like, fuck, I don't really want to buy another stupid cord for like $10. Like, I
Yeah,
just don't want to.
my like you, I was having those issues, but the problem is, the knobs got tweaked to here, and my voice starts crackling at this volume. Right? There's a
Ah,
crackle, so I have to just make sure the knobs are in the right place, and not bump my
ah,
crap too. That's also an issue, of course, but um, it's yeah, get them in the sweet spot. It's a little tricky sometimes, I guess.
gotcha. Yeah, this is just a mic cord. That's all it is. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. The mic. I mean, there's a little. If I jiggle it like that, I get some. Not too bad. So it's not the cord. It is an old cord though. So I briefly thought about getting a new microphone, then realized I just needed to turn those knobs. So I'll continue
yeah.
holding my microphone and occasionally bashing myself in the teeth with it.
Ugh. Microphones are usually the last thing to go.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
have a microphone that still works where like the foam on the inside of the head is like disintegrating, but the thing still works.
I think it's been a good long time since I bashed myself in the teeth with this one. I got because these are the well, you know this one.
What is that? The SM? Oh, the PG-58. Is that the Behringer one?
No, sure, but it's the one that
PG?
in the '90s was in like every single fucking club, and we'd have to eat the microphones all the time, right? Because if you get this
Isn't that an SM-58?
might be. Anyway, it's related. It's the cousin of that one, so it's real
Oh,
similar.
weird.
But yeah, if you're not basically eating the microphone, the sound doesn't really come through, right? So
Yeah, I always liked eating the microphone anyway.
that
I
man,
think
what
there's,
do people do in clubs now? Because do they just spray them every like 5 seconds or something? Because everyone's paranoid about eating the microphones. So
I mean, the
someone.
last couple of shows I went to, there was almost nobody wearing masks. It's because people are dumb idiots here, and I can't. That's, what's destroyed my faith in humanity is just like,
See, in Japan, the
uh,
government's even said like you don't need to wear masks outside anymore, and most people still do.
but people like, there's no way that you would wear a mask somewhere in Japan and someone would like stare at you like you're an asshole. But that happens to me like everywhere I go.
Oh no, oh, that you would wear it, and okay, yeah, 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 yeah. You
Yeah,
definitely get to glare if you're not. But
yeah.
it's the thing, Japan needs to like chill out on a little bit because people were walking around by themselves in rice fields wearing masks. It's like, why?
Uh, I mean, yeah. If you were had to deal with all this shit here, you would be like, yeah, go ahead, wear it in the rice field. And honestly, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's honestly like there's no amount of mask wearing that would upset me at this point. Like, and it's just never. Eh,
I can't do the paper ones. They make me start hacking. Says
yeah, they're not.
the orchestra that started again, they actually want you to wear a paper mask there. So by the end of orchestra, I sound like I have COVID
Uh,
because I just can't breathe through those things.
yeah, it's like you're probably just way safer in general there, no matter what. And I'm like every time I hang out with people while not wearing masks, I'm just like basically just rolling the dice. No
Well,
matter how leftist or whatever they are.
Yeah, when I'm hanging out with Luke or Maddie, we're not gonna do that. But yeah,
Yeah, because you guys probably in general are just not not as likely to be exposed to stuff. But it's
well,
like,
also we're all coworkers, so we're pretty much in the same place all the time anyway.
yeah, but it's like all it really takes is for somebody who you're friends with to be friends with somebody who to be friends with somebody who fucks around. Like
Right.
it's not, you know, who and by fucks around just I mean like just went out to a park or went out to like an event without wearing a mask for all night.
Hmm.
And then it's like just, but it's probably reaching the point here where just everyone's had it. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
don't
just
know.
where Japan's fascinating because the foreigners are all showing up in Japan now. They just opened like a few weeks ago,
Oh shit, cool.
and they so actually people can visit now.
Hmm.
And they tend to drop it for most of the time. So it's like when I was in Tokyo a few weeks ago in Shinjuku, I was actually kind of surprised how many people weren't bothering because in Nagano it's like yeah, you'll get a funky glare.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know how long it would take me to get to the point where I would stare at somebody for wait, where where I would feel like it was like I was tired of wearing a mask, which really sucks. But
Mm-mm.
I'm just like it's just like I've for somebody like me it's just been like hell because you're just every day you're just constantly reminded of people's like lack of consideration just
Mm.
constantly.
Also, I mean, I already had a COVID run, right? But I basically just
Hmm.
didn't get sick much. So yeah, like everyone in
I
my house just had a bad cold, and I didn't catch it.
I don't usually get sick, and it was like the second time I got it took a while. It was kind of worse. So
Mm-mm.
that's another thing is that I'm kind of like afraid of catching it like a number of times and it getting worse and worse because that seems to be a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, allegedly, I
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly, I certainly don't need to like take another week off work for any reason. But
My big concern is Japan. In Japan, is that I think a lot of people don't even care about the illness factor. They just, a lot of Japanese are painfully introverted, and a lot of them
mhm.
just like covering half their face now, hiding.
Yeah, and I hate the idea of it, but it's like turned into something where I'm like, but sometimes I have a mask on and I just walk by someone who's staring at me and I'm just say like prick into the
Yeah,
mask and they can't hear me.
I'm just concerned that in Japan, like it's going to become like the norm, like for years, like even when
Yeah.
it's not an issue at all anymore, because Japan doesn't like
Well,
to change.
yeah, that would suck. But
So that's kind of
honestly,
my concern.
if you took me right now and then transplanted me into the year like 2027 where there's no COVID and I'm in Japan and everyone is just going to wear masks for another like 3 years after COVID's over, I would be fine with it because
Okay.
I'm just that fine like I'm that psychically damaged from seeing everyone not give a shit here.
Mm. That
So
well, the other
clearly
thing in the
it's like
states, it's just
other side of grass is greener type thing.
like you mentioned, no matter how leftist they are, right? Where that's the thing in Japan and America, it became such a fucking political issue too. Where in Japan, that's
Hmm.
never been the case, you know. So you're just
Yeah.
like, is this logically making sense at this point in time? So rice field, no, but I
Yeah,
mean,
so like you're
but
not.
then everyone walks into a store, just flicks it on, goes on a train, flicks it on. I mean,
Hmm.
work, everyone wears them at work. So I'm coming from a very different position where it's like there's all these places where everybody does it all the time, right? So
And it
like
probably just doesn't mean as much, really.
it's like
Because to
I'm
me,
gonna
it's like I don't know.
like it's
It,
very very rare you'll see someone in a store not wearing a mask. At work, you never do. Everyone has one on all the time, unless they're eating. So
yeah, and it was like almost never like that here.
okay, yeah.
It was like there were I probably if it was something like a government building, there was attention being paid to it, but not like at a store or anything. There's certainly it was something like I remember going to like one dumb things I did in 2020 was go to a demolition derby, even though it was outside. And there were signs everywhere that said, please wear a mask. And then I saw like there were probably like hundreds of people there, and I think I saw one person besides people I was with wearing a mask ever the whole
Mm.
time.
That's the other thing. I guess I never end up at like, I don't really go to concerts or events like that so much anymore, and
Mhm.
we don't have so many work parties anymore, so it's very rarely in that kind of situation anyway. But
Yeah,
I,
I would, but
mm.
that's the whole thing is that sometimes it's like it sucks wearing a mask for 2 hours, but I'm
Yeah,
not gonna go into a indoors. Not. I saw Gang of Four, the Gang of Four version that toured like a
yeah.
few
Do they
months ago.
have
Did you
any?
know about that?
What is it? Just the guitar player now, or is it the singer?
It
Which one?
is. Well, the guitarist is dead. Andy Gill died,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I couldn't remember
immediately
which one
after
died.
there was a version where it was Andy Gill and like three random new guys.
That's the last one I heard about. Then.
He died, and there's a version now where it is the original singer, the original drummer, the bass player from their like second incarnation, Sarah Lee from like their
Oh, right,
second
right,
and
right.
third albums from the Duran Duran type stuff,
Yeah.
and the guitarist from Slint. And that was great. It was
Okay.
awesome,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it
At least
was like a lot of people, and I was like, "Fucking goddamn it!" I'm like wearing a mask and watching nobody else wear a mask, and this was like 9 months ago. This was a while ago.
Yeah. So I haven't been in any of those situations, but Japanese would all
But I
have it
was
on.
I wasn't gonna miss that. I was like, well, I have to go see that, and it was good. But yeah,
Anyway, I'm gonna start getting off in my direction to work. So I will
cool,
catch you later. Like I said, maybe next one
right?
we'll hit up that next prisoner. Um,
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should be mentioning it on the podcast, but it's just
no,
like, well,
Luke mentioned
it
it a couple
was
times on podcasts that he sent out a tweet that
okay.
we've been doing it right. So like I said, I'll go ahead and get Luke screaming the intro because honestly, it will be a real easy one to put together. So I just haven't
Yeah. It's
bothered
yeah, it's
because
not like it's not any more labor intensive to do that podcast than it is to do this one, really.
right. So
Like,
I'll probably make that one like bi-weekly just because we can just again we're
yeah.
doing them as we do them and we say bleh, I don't think we say anything topical in them, so it doesn't really matter when we release them. But like the Twilight Zone,
Hey,
other than being like I saw a news report, of something weird, which doesn't really date
oh.
it too much.
You always have to think in terms of that the podcasts will exist a lot longer than after they're current than while they're current, if that
True,
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah, the only time I might say like it's this time. I mean, a lot of times I'm talking about news when we're recording a podcast and it's not coming out for a month, so it's data when it's released.
If we do things correctly, then people a couple of years from now will be like, whoa, I found your Prisoner podcast, and I found your Twilight Zone podcast, and I found your this podcast, and now I'm giving you money. And that's like the dream, I guess.
We've already got about three people have done that, so
Nice.
and
Yeah,
I
just pay
and
the
like I said,
bills.
I think there is some value in having the live chat hosted, because I couldn't start a Discord and get people at all, right? So, the first one was basically
Yeah.
like two people. We had four on for a bit last time, so maybe we'll help you. Like I said, five or six would actually be optimum. I think more than that, it would start to suck, or at least get too
Was it like,
convoluted.
is it a situation where other people can chat using like text or something like that
Yeah, there's a text
at
stream and
us?
stuff. Because
Okay.
main mission log does theirs on Thursday nights, my Friday morning, and
Mm,
sometimes I'll go in, I like won't turn on my audio or video. I'll just listen to it like a radio show, and I might type a few things in the chat, but there's like sometimes there's like 20 people, and that's a mess.
mm-hmm. Well,
So I'm like I'll be a lurker, and if I feel like saying something, I'll type it.
the main thing is you just don't want to have to run your own Discord, which is that's the best is not having to set
Oh,
that shit up.
exactly. I was talking to Mike Richards, who's one of the Orville guys, right? Yesterday, and he brought it up, so I did the twin one, and after I was like, yeah, I'm trying to do both, talk about both Patreons without sounding like an asshole, but it's like,
You
well,
know.
there's this and there's that, and they're different. Sorry, folks, but that's just how it is right now.
Yeah, man, fuck it.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
obviously I'd like people coming to the Podcastio one because then I can eventually stop paying for Zoom, right? So our hosting
Yeah,
is covered. We get enough on there that we don't have to pay for the hosting, but
awesome.
our Zoom is not yet covered. So
Oh, well, it'll happen.
yeah,
Ugh.
okay. Let me hit
All right.
this